The moon hung low over the forest. Its pale light slipped through branches like silver blades, and the air was cold enough to bite through skin. Emily ran. Her lungs burned, her legs felt ready to collapse, but she did not stop. Not after what she had seen. Not after what she had heard. The dry leaves cracked beneath her boots. Shadows moved behind her, closer each time she looked back. Somewhere in the dark, a man's deep voice called out, words she couldn't catch, but the tone told her enough. They were hunting her. And they weren't going to stop. Branches whipped across her face. Tears stung her eyes, but they weren't from sadness. They were from the raw fear that drove her forward. If she slowed even for a second, it would all be over. And then, another sound. Different. Closer to her right. Emily burst through the trees and nearly collided with a man standing in the moonlight. She stumbled, gasping, and for a heartbeat thought he might be one of them. But his eyes, calm, sharp, studied her with something different. Not hunger. Not cruelty. But focus. David. That was his name. Though she didn't know it yet. To her, he was just a stranger on a forest path, carrying groceries for a son who was already asleep in their small cabin. But the moment he heard her ragged breathing and the footsteps crashing behind her, David became someone else. His jaw tightened. His stance shifted. And in an instant, Emily felt as though she had found a wall of stone between her and the darkness chasing her. She clutched his arm with trembling fingers and whispered only 2 words. "They will kill me." The first man stepped out from the trees. His boots crunched on dry leaves, his shadow stretching long across the ground. 2 more figures lingered behind him in the dark. The man's lips curled into a smile that never touched his eyes. "Step aside," he ordered. David did not move. His voice was calm, but carried a weight that made even the night itself hold its breath. "Not tonight." Something in the way he said it made the men hesitate. For the first time, Emily felt the tiniest spark of hope. When the strangers finally melted back into the woods, David turned to her. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, but her voice trembled when she answered. "They'll come back. They always do." David's reply was steady, quiet, but full of steel. "Then we'll be ready." The cabin sat in a clearing, lit by the warm glow of a single lamp. Smoke curled from its chimney. Inside, a small boy slept peacefully on the couch, unaware of the danger creeping outside. Emily sat at the wooden table, her hands wrapped around a cup of tea David had placed in front of her. The warmth steadied her. For the first time since the chase began, she could breathe. She told him what happened. How she had walked near an old warehouse. How curiosity made her stop when she heard voices. And how she saw them unloading heavy black bags from a van, bags that moved. One of the men spoke a name she didn't recognize. Then they saw her. And everything changed. David listened in silence, but his eyes narrowed slightly at every detail. His face revealed little, but Emily could feel that he was storing every word away, fitting them into a puzzle only he understood. When she finished, he draped a blanket over her shoulders and moved to the window. His silhouette was steady against the flickering firelight. And for the first time she noticed the faint scars on his forearms. The way he moved, without wasted motion. Controlled. Trained. "Who are you?" she whispered. He didn't answer. Not yet. Instead, he opened a black case on the table. Inside lay a combat knife, a folded patch with a trident and anchor, and a map marked with fading symbols. Emily's breath caught. "You were in the military." David's eyes flicked to his son sleeping softly on the couch. His voice was low when he replied. "Yes. Once. A long time ago." And in that moment she understood. Whatever life he had before had ended when he became a father. But the skills, the instincts, they had never left him. Night fell heavy over the clearing. The fire crackled in the hearth, but the warmth didn't chase away the chill that hung in the air. Emily sat frozen at the table, listening. A sound outside. Leaves crunching. David rose slowly, his movements smooth, silent, like a man walking into a memory. "They're here," he said quietly. Before Emily could protest, he slipped out into the night. The forest swallowed him. He moved like shadow, blending into the trees. The intruders never heard him coming. The first man fell before he could even turn. David dragged him silently into the dark. Further in, two more whispered plans about rushing the cabin. They thought Emily was alone. They thought David was just a man with a child. They were wrong. Traps David had set earlier snapped under their boots, startling them, slowing them. And then he was there, sudden, precise. Disarming one, dropping the other. Only the leader remained. Emily waited inside the cabin, every sound outside making her heart pound. And then, the door opened. David stepped back inside, calm, almost untouched. "It's over," he said quietly. For now by morning, David's son was gone, sent with a trusted neighbor into town, away from danger. David's expression sharpened. Every movement carried purpose. He spread a worn map across the table and had Emily tell him every detail again. Every voice, every word she remembered. Then he marked the forest paths, the likely routes. His focus was absolute. Emily realized then, this wasn't hiding. This was preparation. Later, they moved together through the woods, following paths only David seemed to know. Hours passed until they reached a ridge overlooking a valley. Below, a black SUV waited. 3 men stood beside it. One of them tall, broad-shouldered, his stance radiating authority. Even from this distance, Emily felt the weight of his presence. David's face changed when he saw him. "You know him," Emily whispered. "Yes," David said softly. "Years ago, we were on the same side. Not anymore." And then he moved down the slope. The tall man turned as David approached. Their voices carried low, words Emily couldn't hear. The tall man laughed once, cold and sharp. David didn't flinch. Then they circled each other. The fight was sudden, violent, precise. Every strike carried years of training. Every block was survival honed into instinct. Emily's breath caught as she watched from the ridge. And then, silence. The tall man lay on the ground, weapon out of reach. David stood over him, chest rising and falling steadily. He spoke a few words only the man could hear. Then he stepped back. The others rushed to help their leader. They retreated. The SUV disappeared down the road, swallowed by the valley. David climbed back up the ridge, calm as ever. "It's done," he said. For now. Emily wanted to ask what he told the man, but she didn't. Instead, she asked the question that had been burning inside her since the night they met. "Who are you really?" For a moment, David didn't answer. His eyes searched the forest as though weighing the right words. Finally, he said. "I was a Navy SEAL for many years. I've been in places where survival meant making choices no one should ever have to make. When my son was born, I left that life behind. Or I thought I did." Emily's chest tightened. Now she understood. The way he had moved. The way he had planned. The way he faced danger without fear. But she also remembered the man who offered her tea, who placed a blanket over her shoulders, who looked at his son with quiet love. Both men were the same. And that was why she felt safe beside him. They turned back into the forest, the trees closing around them like a shield. The danger was not gone. The men would return. But Emily no longer felt like prey. Because she knew one truth, certain as the rising sun spilling gold through the branches. With David at her side, she had a chance. And whatever came next, they would face it together.